good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tiffany Shine. We're here in Cornwall Hall for the Ugandan Youth Forum. You're very much welcome. Thank you for joining us. As you know, I'm Miss Uganda UK 2014-2015. We'll be telling you more about what's happening here today.
Well, I'm here on the panel. We're going to be talking about culture and identity and what it means to the youth, and we'll be discussing issues that will address the youth problems and that we will hope will come up with solutions.
Oh,
Today I'm going to be speaking about culture and identity, but more I'm going to be focusing on the importance of valuing your culture, selecting and choosing your own identity, not letting that identity be taken away by anyone else and defining it yourself, but most importantly of all about reclaiming your culture, knowing what your values are, and making sure that that culture is yours and yours alone, not letting it being defined by anybody else, making sure that we're understanding of our history, of our importance, about who we are, that it's all about organising and saying, it doesn't matter what anyone else says, this is my culture, this is my identity, and I am me.
wow. That's very, very cool. Thank you.
Here, and the objective that each and everybody has got a duty. It is not that person on your side, neither is it the person on the other side. It is you and who is in you. In 1996, a famous politician from the Conservative said something very important, back to basics. Do you remember who said that? Who was that? Why did he come up with that phrase, back to basics?
Response. Umi, or Lira, or anywhere in where the rural group is. So could we put our hands together? And I think as I was watching the rural dancers, I said to myself that we do ourselves a disservice when we do not respect other people's cultures or identity. What the rural dancers were demonstrating here was culture and identity at the same time. You are asking people to follow one way. You are creating a problem. You get it? And this problem was created actually. So today, there are many people who believe that a certain way of life, for example, what you call Western, is universal. Because that's what colonialism tried to implant in the brains of the colonized. That universality. And therefore, grow, cultivate a universal culture.
Hear about. For example, ping, when that light switched. They taught us it was Thomas Edison who made that happen, when ironically it was actually a darker man that made that light switch, Lewis Latimer to be precise. Quite nice when we're talking about Mr. Hamilton and his racing car, but red light, stop. We're always taught that Martin Luther King had a dream, man. But those dreams can't be achieved because our brains are in chains, our minds are enslaved, so we won't get our redemption. Morgan, free, man. But will we ever be free, man, and leave this state of imprisonment and take that walk of free? Damn it. Green man from a traffic light, invented by the same man who made gas masks to protect our organs. Another free man named Garrett Morgan, but I bet you never knew that. You see, we need to open up our minds. But how can we be taught to see if the blind lead the blind? The first person to develop significant eye surgery was a black woman named Dr. Patricia E. Barth. Now, on that note, there's a question I must ask. If black history is really meant to be a great opportunity to learn and engage in our past, why are we not actually being taught about our past? Transatlantic slavery, where we're taught history, starts, but is it really? There seems to be a lot they haven't told us. And they shut down and hold back on the bold ones who stand against the way they're trying to mold us. Consistent enemies of progress. The school's surprised because I know things they don't expect me to know yet. So when I stand and tell them they're wrong for telling me about me and my culture, they call it a riot, well, I call it a protest. The Broadwater Farm riots. The media exacerbate and make it seem like it's a bunch of delinquent youths on the streets, when really, the first cause and trigger was death at the hands of the police. We cease to know the truth. And that's because they withhold information from the youth. Maybe one day we'll be satisfied with how our knowledge of history equates. Well, I'm sure like me,
We have lost our values. Now, I am very, very proud to say that I am Nigerian, because I know that through the blood that runs through my veins, there is thousands upon thousands of years in an illustrious history. I'm also proud to say that I'm British, because when my family came over here to this country in the 1960s, escaping a vicious civil war, this country took my grandma in. They trained her up to be a nurse. They gave her those skills, which she was then able to utilise, not just over here, but back in our home country of Nigeria. So I can say I am very, very proud to be both Nigerian and also to be British. I know my identity, but herein lies a problem. People need to own their identities. They need to be comfortable with who they are. But they also cannot be owned by their identities. Now that might seem a bit contradictory. How do you own your identity and not be owned by your identity? Well, if I can tell you a little bit of a personal story of exactly what I mean by that. When I was 14 years old, I was diagnosed with something called autism. Now, to the doctors who diagnosed me, that was a very negative part of my identity. To my parents, that was a negative part of my identity. And to my peers in school, that was a negative part of my identity. And because I listened to all these people, it became a negative part of my identity. Rather than owning it, I was owned by it. But I'm older now. I understand that it's not a negative thing. And now I own that part. I know about all the famous people throughout history right now who have had an autism diagnosis or expected to be autism, or expected to be autistic. I know right now that there is nothing wrong with being autistic. In the same way there is nothing wrong with me being black or Nigerian or coming from London. There is nothing wrong with any aspect of culture, any person's identity at all. And the people who think there is a negative label to be had to any particular identity whatsoever, those are the very sorts of people that we should never ever listen to. Those are the sorts of people that should never ever be given a platform.
The acceptance is based on the family drama whereby an ordinary girl, which is the daughter, is betrayed by the people she loves, such as her mother and her husband, and we see the ultimate betrayal and the destruction which it causes within the family. And acceptance can be bought on Amazon and completely novel and is available on Waterstones and okanabooks.com.
Came around my way, keep my horse away. With your astonishing beauty, oh, you could have make a brother sing. No ordinary thing, a supernatural being. And know you are brighter than the moon, brighter than the star. I love you just the way you are, and you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. You make my heart go ting-a-ling-a-ling. Oh, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. And you remind me of a thing, and that is the African beauty. Hey, yeah. Ooh, you are my African queen. Oh, Lord, ooh, Lord. Out of familiar, you stand as one, they are standing one. I look into your eyes, girl, what I see is paradise. Hey, you captivated my soul. Now every day I want you more. How can I deny this feeling I'm feeling inside? Hey, no one cannot take your place, cannot take your space. That is a fact I cannot erase. And no, you are the one that makes me smile, make me float like a boat upon the Nile. You are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. You make my heart ting-a-ling-a-ling. Yeah, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You remind me of a thing, and that is the African beauty. Oh, oh, yeah. You are my African queen, and I know, oh yes I know. You are my African queen, and I know. See I know what I am feeling in my heart and in my soul. Oh, I know that it is love, and I know that this love was surely sent from up above. 'Cause you're the only one that I think of. You are my African queen, and I know that it means that you're the only one that I will serve. I'll give you my heart, my love, my body and my money, every other thing you think of. Yeah, man, who could think of anything better than you? Who could think of ever hurting you? Sacrifice my all, I'll give it all to you. You are my African queen. You are my African queen.
I'm one of the directors for this film, Ancestral Voices, Esoteric African Knowledge, which deals with the topic of African spiritual philosophy. Yes, because all too often we have Africans who are willing to discard the way of their ancestors and buy into what is essentially a colonial hangover. Yes, what they've told us is evil or witchcraft or devil worship, whatever you want to call it. Yes? But then let's look back at some of whether these claims actually stand true. The Dogon, a tribe in the area we now call Mali, has among their spiritual cosmology, they have symbols and signs. And one of the signs that they found, which again, remember this is meant to fall under witchcraft, they found these symbols which represent what we now call the atom. We tend to find is the makeup, which we now find is the makeup of the human body. The other thing they were able to do were to chart astrological maps by, well, obviously they don't have telescopes or microscopes or these big things that we use to chart the stars now. And what we come to find is now NASA have identified most of the constellations that they seem to draw with their human eyes, which we can only find now because we're using machines. One of these stars is named Sirius 2. You can do the research on it and find out for yourself.
I'm a daughter of Charles Segendo. I'm a granddaughter of John Serigaju. I'm a granddaughter of Bartolomeo Chibuka. I'm a granddaughter of Kate Sengendo Magunda. I'm a granddaughter of Kawesa Ntege Magunda. Why is it important? That is my identity. That is who I am. But if you had listened to all those names, there has been about 4 generations with an anglicized name. That is who I am now. I have been anglicized. Rachel is the name I was given because my 4th grandparent, who was Bartolomeo Chibuka, went to church. And before him, there was Kate Sengendo Magunda. Those who come from Uganda, from the Buganda tribe, will know the relevancy of Magunda. Because my grandfather went to church, he despised his role in the community, the role of Magunda. Magunda was the magistrate in the Buganda kingdom. Why is this important? And how is this relevant with the topic that I've been asked to talk about? Mental health. If you are disconnected with your identity, there is mental health. Today we had a session at school. This is in the 90s. They used to say, "What's your name?" "Caroline." "What's your surname?" "Namagali." "What does that mean?" "Oh, where are you from?" "You're from Uganda." "Oh, is that where the monkeys are from?" So, culture does affect identity. And since then, I remember when I was younger, I dyed my hair blonde, you know, and I used to wear blue contact lenses just to make sure that I fit in, you know, because that was the culture then. And then I used to go back home and my mum said, "What are you doing to yourself?" She said to me, "First and foremost, this English language stays outside my door." You understand? So when I went out, I used to see all these fashion or whatever, and I used to be, "Oh, Lord God, my mum can't really afford this much things." So when in the 90s, it was all about Nike, Reebok, trainers or whatever. So I went out and I cut my hair with a Nike cut, Nike tick at the back of my hair. And that was the fashion. Then I'm like, all right, I can't afford it, but I'm going to cut my hair Nike tick. My mum can't afford it. I came back, my mum was like, "What have you done to your back of your head?" I said, "Mum, that's what's on, that's the fashion." My mum said, "Sit down." She cut all of my hair off. Howls, paste.
I think culture does affect, but I think it affects the individual in order to find their own self. I'll give you an example of how it affected me. Before I started running before I was running for Parliament, I used to be a councillor in the suburb. And before I ran for council, I said to myself, I felt there was a void in me. I was raised by a single mum, and I didn't really know my father. As you know, as a Ugandan, you know, you identify with your father's side. You are part of his clan. So me, my clan is Zendiga. But I was not connected with that. And I had a little void in me. I didn't know what that meant. And it carried on. I said, before I go on this political journey, before I start telling people what I think should be done in society, I need to be telling myself, I need to first tell myself who I am and why I'm doing it. And I took a journey to Uganda. For the first time I went to Uganda without my parents, and I told my mum that I'm going to look for my side of the family by myself. I went there, I looked for my uncle, my dad's brother, and I spent 6 weeks with him. In there I found out that my grandparents had been foremost, speaking of hides, they were they used to export hide, that is leather. And for me that was inspiring because it meant that we were useful for something. I wasn't just someone floating around the universe, I was part of a greater story.
Growing up in the UK, the culture here is a lot of Africa, poverty, in danger, and growing up you just have that image of Africa in your mind. and that culture kind of leads you to kind of feel a bit, you lose that sense of identity of yourself and your background. And to be honest, until I was in my late teens and I went to Uganda by myself, I really was able to learn about my culture in like an amazing way. I saw my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles. The culture was so beautiful. The poverty wasn't like how they kind of explained it in the news, on TV. It was so beautiful, and you realise, you know what, our culture is amazing, and I kind of felt that pride in myself.
Mazina Maganda, things just to remember our tradition, like Ugandan traditional dancing and things like that. However, outside the family, I was on the streets, I was in certain crews, like in school I was with certain guys. So I was heavily influenced, but the good thing is there was a balance because my parents, they at home, we spoke Luganda, so that in a way helped me. But yeah, I realized the cure to all of that. Okay, me, I was lucky, but not everyone's in my situation. There's Ugandans out there who didn't get that at home, whose parents were there, but they were not there. If you know what I'm saying, they didn't put in that much time. That's why we're losing certain Ugandans. Like I said, sometimes we think, well, do we have enough Ugandans in the UK? The truth is, we have plenty. We have so many Ugandans, young Ugandans, that even these events that take place, you're unable to reach them because you don't know how to reach them. You don't know how, you can't speak their language. But they're there. I've bumped into so many people who actually are proud Ugandans, but they don't even know about this scheme. They don't know anything. One of the things that one example I like to use that yes, culture does affect identity. Let me use music. Obviously, I'm an artist, so I use music. I've noticed like a lot of Ugandans as I was growing up, my Ugandan friends wasn't too proud of our music from back home. Like I was the one that was always initiated. Let's play Ugandan song. And it's like because there's Ghanaians, Nigerians, Jamaicans around, it's like they're not proud of our song. It's like they don't even want to play, they don't want to promote our thing. I was like that before, but when I went to Uganda, there's a way to go, because I was lost, I will be honest. But when I went back, because I did get sent back by my parents at one point, I got sent back, yes. Yeah, it had an impact on me because it made me look at life from a different scale. I saw that I have cousins who are hungry to go to the UK, and some of them will tell me, if only I can trade places with you, I'll make the family better, I'll improve, I'll do things. It's like, I feel like I got the opportunity and I was just sitting in it, Anyway, yes, in terms of music, I thought that, for example, as youths, Ugandans, we need to be more proud of who we are. And it doesn't matter, even though we have Kadongo Kam, we have them. I played Kadongo Kam in my college, people were laughing. And I'm that kind of person because I'm so proud, but yes, I was affected by this, culture, and so many people can be affected, but you can overcome it, you can overpower it. We need to be more proud of who we really are and to know where we come from.
And when I went back for the first time in 2010, and I saw that I was a minority, I was actually part of the majority, and I went back, I saw a land full of black people here in my neighborhood of South Florida. There was like 130 black people walking around there. So when I went back to see I was in the majority, I did certainly feel that my culture that had been missing for so long was definitely something that made me into a complete human being at the end of the day. It was a journey, but I'm sitting here today at the Ugandan Youth Forum panel, and it's just the beginning. Thank you very much.
Because, I don't want this to just be a discussion. I actually want to see some action, I don't want this to just end here, because I'll really be hurt in 6 months' time just to see my community still lost. And I believe, that Ugandans, the ones that grew up here, they need to actually stand together and actually build one another and support one another. Because think about it, if relation full stop doesn't relate to any sort of strength within the people. Thinking back to Africa a long time ago, Africa at the start, we were all one. Where we were from, Uganda, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Ghana, everywhere, we were all one. And it's the segregation, as everyone knows, is that the quote, united we stand, divided we fall. When the Western world came to Africa, they didn't come and personally, I'm not from Uganda, but they didn't come and take out one tribe and then come to this tribe and say we're in Uganda for this tribe. They came and took out Uganda as a whole. The same with Sierra Leone. I'm from Sierra Leone personally. When Ebola came, it wasn't we're going to give Ebola to just this tribe and we're going to take out this tribe. They put Ebola in the whole country to wipe out the whole country. That is how I see it. And I think any sort of segregation, full stop, is great to know where you come from. It's great to know your history. It's great to know who you are. But I think as a people, as black people, as the oppressed, we all need to just stand together, full stop. Africa needs to come back together and regain our strength.
A lot about country first, identity second, and actually I want to say, personally, I think that's ridiculous, country first, identity second. I mean, personally, I do a lot of studying about military conflicts and what happens in the past. More wars have been started over countries and providing national identity than any other thing in the world. As soon as you start separating people into different tribes, different cultures, different identities, I guarantee you one person in that group will say, if someone else is different to me, then we need to fight and kill them for it. So I don't believe in country first, identity second. As far as I'm concerned, it's human first. That is it.
And my Luo name is Atieno. If you didn't know, now you know. I'm a Kenyan. How many Nigerians are here? Now, Nigerians, I'm warning you, I'm a Kenyan. Please stop claiming me. Do you know what? I've listened to the topic about culture and identity.
Future lawyers, architect, future presidents, but they got wiped away in such a short time. So I will encourage all of you to go from here and be proud. It's like Trevor Phillips says, we are sleepwalking towards segregation, you know, and we need to bring multiculturalism back. And as the gentleman, the journalist, Mr. Stevens said, we need the parents to get involved. So thank you ever so much for coming to the Youth Forum. We hope to see you next time. Please network and socialize right about now. And
also Scott. Okay.
So Samuel, you told us a lot of things about culture, identity, and is it like a poet that you're focusing on?
Yeah, it was a spoken word piece I did last year for Black History Month called What I Wasn't Taught in School. And it was just basically about how our culture is not being pushed enough. I know there's Black History Month and I know there's teachings of our culture, but not pushed enough for our black and young people empowerment. So that's the piece that I performed today in relation to culture and identity.
Right, so what do you think is missing in our society today in regards of culture, identity, as a young person?
I think unity. I think we're so divided as a people. Even in Africa alone, you know, it's all great to have culture, it's all great to be individual to where you're from, but as black people, as young black people, as just black people as in general, we all need to come together and be strong together. As I said earlier on tonight, united we stand, divided we fall. So I think we need to come together as black people and be strong and utilize the great things that we have as black people to move forward as a people. That's the only way, to be honest.
Well, that's amazing, because a house that is divided cannot stand. So what is one thing that can really bring people together? What do you think really brings people together?
We need to have more forums like this. I think knowledge is power at the end of the day. I think so many people know so much about little, but we need to know a lot about what we know about. And I think knowledge is power. If we know about the great things that we've done in our past, if we know about the great things about our history, if we know just the great things that us black people are capable of, I think we'll actually start to appreciate our culture a lot more. We'll start to appreciate ourselves a lot more. And that's what will bring us black people together at the end of the day.
Oh, wonderful. So where do you get your inspiration from? Why are you so passionate about your culture?
I think we need to be passionate in general. Me, myself, I grew up here. I grew up in the UK, born and bred here. But I just felt like something was lacking in me. I felt like that was avoiding me because I didn't know much about my culture. That's coming from my parents, coming from school, coming from society. I grew up in the Western world. I grew up in the Western culture, but I didn't know much about myself. So I took some time out, you know, to learn, to understand, to find myself within my culture and really find my identity. And this is why I can stand here so confidently and strongly to tell other people that they need to do the same thing, because that's the only thing that's going to make us strong. That's the only thing that's going to make us understand who we are, where we are at, and become strong people at the end of the day.
Wow, thank you so much for joining.
Gentlemen, you're tuned into Pearl Chat. We've got Robert. Actually, we are at the Uganda Youth Forum, and we had the Luo Culture Group dancing for us today. You have seen them dancing. This is Robert. He's part of the Luo Culture Group, and I believe you're one of the main dancers.
Yeah, I do drumming for them, and I perform for them as well. So I'm a member of Luo Culture Group. Yeah.
Tell us about your experience learning to dance the Luo dances, or what it's called, and the moves and anything like that.
I can actually say it's like I'm gifted. I was born with this, because I didn't learn it. I basically just got into the dance floor and just started dancing. So that's it.
Did your parents force you into doing it, or was it something that, as you say, you were born into it?
No, my parents didn't actually force me to come and dance. I just saw it on TV, and I decided to come and join these guys on, and let it off, and here I am. Yeah. And
thanks for being a Ugandan and a Luo representing in England. What has it been like for you growing up in England?
At the beginning, it was a tough thing, because I was born in Uganda, so I came here when I was young, and within the society, it was so hard for me to get along with with the people, that environment and stuff. So, coming to do these rehearsals with the cultural and tribes, it gives me strength to to actually forget about what is happening outside and focus with my tribe. Yeah.
You felt at home.
Yeah. So.
And joining us is Yahaya, who is a Ugandan running for parliament in England. Yahaya, run us through your experience.
Well, my experience has been, I would say, a unique one. So having been born in Uganda and been raised here since that age, I got involved in my community because I saw that, first and foremost, where I lived was where I belonged. In that particular time, where I lived was a deprived area that needed help, that needed encouraging young people, that needed inspiring young people. And so I got involved in politics in a small way by setting up social enterprises, and then running for council, and then finally running for parliament.
I mean, fair enough, you're running for parliament, but what contribution are you giving towards the Ugandan youths that are growing up in England, just like yourself?
Well, I'm running for parliament. That is my contribution. What I'm trying to get at is that every single Ugandan who's making something of themselves, who is exploiting their gift and becoming the best that they can be, is a representative for all young Ugandans. When people see me and they know that I'm a Ugandan, I am representing my people, and I'm representing young people, and I'm representing young Ugandans, so that they can say, well, he's a Ugandan as well. It's a reference point.
One of the things that we mention a lot as Ugandans is that we don't have a lot of people to look up to. We have loads of Ugandans that are growing up in England, and they haven't got any Ugandans that they can look up to as a role model. We can see you as a role model right now, so you can go down in the books as well as someone who is a Ugandan that is running for parliament in England.
Well, I mean, I'm humbled by that, but there are people that I look up to. There's people that are doing much more than what I'm doing. People have exceeded in their own particular areas. One example is, I don't know if you know George the Poet, a young Ugandan who's making something.
I was just about to say, he's a Ugandan.
Yeah, he's a young Ugandan who's making huge impacts in the music industry. You've got so many young Ugandans who have sort of come up with firsts from Oxford University. I look up to people like that. I'm just doing my part in my little, section, but I look up to every single young person, other Ugandans, who are doing what their part in their own little sections. Yeah.
We really appreciate you running for parliament as a Ugandan, and we look forward to seeing more of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. When you're tuned into Pearl Chat, joining us right now is Mr. Ronald Lutaya, who is the ambassador.
Yes. Kabaka's representative here. Omubaka wa Kabaka.
Who is the Omubaka wa Kabaka in England.
UK and Ireland.
UK and Ireland. Mr. Litaye, today you took part in the Ugandan Youth Forum.
Yes.
What is your main message to the youth that are growing up in the diaspora?
It is critical to know who you are. And culture is one way of rediscovering who you are. There is no contradiction between understanding your culture and living a normal life in the United Kingdom. You can coexist the culture that you have inherited from Uganda can coexist with whatever other cultures you have acquired while you are living here.
Okay. As the ambassador of the Buganda Kingdom, what is the kingdom doing to help the youth in the diaspora?
We are doing a lot. We have a youth leader. So there's a new administration for the Kabaka here. We took our offices, I took up my office in February this year. There are other officials working under me. And among those, there is one that coordinates the youth. And actually, Caroline has been nominated as one of the people who will be helping to coordinate that. Yeah. So, but we have been helping Caroline from behind the scenes to organize this. We also join up with others because we feel that for this to work here, it needs to be inclusive, to embrace people from all over Uganda.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Litaye, thank you very much for your time.
You're most welcome.
He's one of the youth that were here today. Adrian, how did you find your experience?
I found my experience really good. I learned what they said about our youth and about our culture really opened my eyes because I didn't know I knew a lot about my culture, but when I just had to embrace our culture, it really made me open my eyes and made me make a change. Yeah.
But you're a part of the Lower Culture group, right? So to me, you already embrace your culture because you're one of the dancers that do the Lower Culture group.
But amongst my friends, because most of my friends don't know that I do this. That's the thing. So for them to see me perform, make me happy. So because most of them, they come in there, they're happy about the Afro beats and everything. But for me to know about my performance, my OCG performance, about ball and raka raka, it will for them to see, it will make me happy because then I'll know that they know that I'm from a background that's not nothing. It's something, and we're going to make it ourselves known and present. Yeah.
So you want to show them a bit of your culture, and not hide the other side of their culture as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do you plan to do this?
Inviting them to events like this,
oh yes,
perform, and Eastern some festival where we perform as well a lot, so they can see different type of food, different type of people, and they sell and see the different type of clothes and accessories that we sell.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing you next year performing with your friends here then. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us is Cleopatra Akulu, who was on the panel, is on the panel, and is one of the organizers for the Uganda Youth Forum. Cleopatra, how did you feel about the event today?
I really enjoyed the event. It was very informative. I liked what the panel was saying, the speakers, the audience engaged. It was all about identity, which is really, really important for us to know and understand what our identity is about and how valuable and precious it is. And I think people went away, if they didn't know already or didn't feel it, they felt like, wow, you know what? We really need to go and grab our identity and really become one with it. Do you see what I'm saying? And I'm very big on identity. I'm very big on African history. I'm very big on who I am. Cleopatra Akulu Kamale. I am African first. Do you know what I mean?
African or Ugandan?
Well, I'm Ugandan. I'm Ugandan and I'm African. But you know, I obviously I'm proud to be Ugandan. I'm very proud to be Ugandan, but I'm very proud to be African. Do you know what I mean? And I think for me, sometimes it's not to focus on the regions and the countries, but to focus on the actual the bigger picture, which is Africa. And I want us to connect that way because, you know, these countries, I keep telling people that they were divided by the Western world. We didn't have these countries before. What was the region of Uganda before it was called Uganda? What was Lake Victoria before it was called Lake Victoria? Do you know what I mean? These are the things that we want to find out, you know?
With all the things that were mentioned and all the questions that were asked with the panels, is there anything that you strongly disagreed with that someone came up with?
I can't really say there was anything that I strongly disagreed with because a lot of the points that were made on identity were very, very good points. And so there were...
Ladies and gentlemen, Power Chat TV, Power Chat World, I've got the maestro herself here. Hey, we're working together to you. She's not on her own. Caroline, how was the event today?
The event was so fantastic. Thank you so much to Power Chat TV. You guys done a lot. Oh, we Power Chat TV. It was very awesome. And everyone seems to have enjoyed themselves. Did you enjoy yourself? What are you saying, Ronnie? Did you enjoy yourself?
No, I didn't. You know, I thought the event was off the chain, off the hazer. What? Oh, do you know what? Nancy, don't do that again, please. Don't do it again, Nancy. All right, just stay there. Anyway, yeah. So the event. How do you think it went?
I think the message was spread across the board. I think the youth understood what it meant to be self-sufficient, know your culture and your identity. The Luo group was fantastic as well. You know, that's how I think it went. Everybody contributed, and the knowledge that was spread here was fantastic, was awesome.
I gotta say, you had one or two speakers that said something with absolutely meaning something from their heart, especially the deputy mayor or the former deputy mayor. He was so personal in his speech. You know, we want to thank all the guys out there who came to support this event. It's been awesome. It's not easy. People think, an event here, I know about vehicle. No, it's not easy. Ugandans doing something that's not musically, it's not entertaining. It's talking about culture, identity, where you come from, and hey, we will carry on doing it.
I mean, yeah, the young deputy former mayor was very passionate, and his message was very powerful. I mean, everyone's messages here were very powerful. I mean, the Ugandan community, I think, is starting to get together now. I mean, we are opening new doors beyond music, beyond entertainment. So whoever's out there that has the fruitful knowledge that we can share, please bring it to the Uganda Youth Forum. And we also invite parents, very much so, to come to us. I mean, we've got television stations now, we've got MPs in Parliament, we've got a lot of talent out there, and Power Chat TV is launching very soon in the summer. So we're bringing you that spirit and fire of culture.
Exactly. We just want to say Uganda Youth Forum at this minute has MPs, it's got all kinds of business people, and hey, we're loving it, and we're going to carry on doing it till the world comes to an end.
What I was talking about today for me was the disconnection between our children and their culture, and how that impacts the way they live, the way they achieve, the way they succeed, the way they work, the way they study. Because if you are not connected with who you are and where you have come from, obviously there are going to be issues in what you do and how you see yourself. And I feel that it's important that our young people who are born and, you know, live in this country, they know who they are. And I mean, for example, if you wanted to take the Bible, you know, every person who is a character in the Bible, they always have their genealogy before they say the stories about them. And here we are bringing up children as Christians, but they don't know who they are. At least you should know about 5 generations before you, and that is what should define you. And we as parents, I think we've got quite a lot to do in teaching our children who they are, where they came from, and I think that will make them feel proud. Yeah.
So you feel like as parents we have a responsibility to really educate our children about our culture and identity.
Yes.
And also you mentioned something about separation.
Yeah.
What do you think is causing that separation?
Well, the separation is this thing called dual heritage in culture, in the cultural sense, because they've got the African culture and also the British culture. And that is quite hard to balance it most of the time. Even us as parents, you know, if you have lived in another country for a very long time, you find yourself having adopted other cultures without even knowing. But for them, being born in this, you know, country, there's no way they can ever balance the two. It's really difficult for them.
Gaila is the name I chose to go by now. But the J Hustle character will still be in and out of the music time to time, but who I am now, I'm Gaila, the name I chose to go by, which represents who identity. Exactly the topic we've been discussing today.
Oh, yes.
Identity, knowing who you are, knowing where you come from, you know, because that's the only way you can know where you're heading.
Right, so as you know, we've been discussing about identity, culture. Can you tell us a little bit more about that personally? What you feel you have to offer in the society in terms of culture, identity?
Well, anything, something that represents culture and identity. Which way that I can, you know, what I've got to offer. Okay.
To sort of contribute in the society.
Okay, as an artist, I grew up in the UK, just like so many other Ugandans like myself, but I decided to do music, okay? It's my profession, but I've decided to bring back my culture through my music, to always reference back to our ancestors' style of doing things and promote it in the UK where there's many Ugandans who are lost. So at least when they see me being proud of where I come from, they'll represent where they come from in their own profession, in their own way, because they'll feel like, okay, we're now coming out of our shells. We don't need to follow Nigerian beats anymore. We can come with Ugandan Mazina Maganda, but switch it up,
so,
make it modern.
So basically maintaining that originality.
Hype it up and let others follow that, because we have to create that fire first before people can follow it. You know what I'm saying? The reason why we're copying others is because they're creating fire, so we end up, like I said over there, you know, the fight outside is always more interesting than the boring lesson. I always use that as an example. So people follow hype. Where there's more people, people follow. So it doesn't mean that there's nothing happening in the UK. There are people that, it's a matter of like people getting together, like, you know, Uganda, no, Abato. Don't feel ashamed.
You're taking us back now.
Don't feel like, okay, listen to other music or do other things, but also understand that there's an artist over there, whether she does classical music or she does this, but she represents you. The fire has to begin with you before others can follow and accept it.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but you mentioned something when you say some Ugandans who are lost.
Lost.
So
what
I'd
I mean
like
by
you
lost?
to explain
Elaborate.
a little bit.
I don't want to offend anybody by my words. What I mean by lost, I mean gone away from your culture and representing something what you're not, and deciding to go by something what you're not. For example, coming in the UK, I can easily be influenced by gangs, because when I leave the house, that's all I see. When I go to the school, it's all I see. I end up joining that because that's what is hyped up the most. Yeah, if in my community I have some organizations which are putting schemes, things into place which represent culture, and I see more Ugandans doing that, I'll end up following that.
Right.
I mean more Ugandans like my size, more Ugandans like my, you know, youth. Something like that.
Okay.
When I said lost, I didn't mean like mental.
Lost, as in mentally lost.
Away from your line, you know, because everybody has that line of where our ancestors come from. You know, everyone has that. Where Dilachi, you have clans. Everyone has that thing, and it's so sad that has been maintained and kept for a long time, and to our generations, like we wanna run away from it and lose that, you know.
And apparently I have to use the active youths of Uganda to be his heroes. So definitely I have to be active in these things of the Uganda Youth Forum. I am inspired by Karuna Mugabe, the chairperson who has started this. Ever since she told it to my ears, I told her I'll be there, regardless. Even when I get gray hair, I'll be there.
Even if you bring your son along with you?
Oh yes, and I've been taking photos with my son and all the, we've just taken one with the MP, a Ugandan youth MP. So I told him, please, you have to kneel down with the lady with the pram in the middle, take a photo. My son has to remember he can become an MP in the area that he's in, anywhere in the world.
Okay, and then what have you achieved from taking part in the Ugandan Youth Forum? What have you learned?
I have achieved hope. Of recent, I used to live in Eastbourne before, but I moved to East London in Prince Regent, New Hamborough. And I get shocked sometimes when you stand at the bus stop and you hear youth smoking. You smell the youths smoking something strong. And then you're thinking, oh my God, is this what my son will look at? But by coming to such a forum, I feel inspired, and I want to remain inspired for our children and the children to come. Okay. So I definitely, the speakers today were wonderful, from the Dr. Lutaya of the Buganda community to the MP, to all the members on the panel, which had very good people and the musicians. The youth were